All right, it's Friday, end of your first week of distance learning. Um, I suspect that some things have been really wonderful, other things have been really hard. It's probably a real mix of things. So keep in mind, what should you have already completed for me by the end of this first week? One, you should have submitted to me the personal story. Number two is you should have completed at least 4 assignments, okay? Completed at least 4 assignments on climate and weather, as well as 1 assignment on of the 2 labs, okay? Those should have already been done, all right? You should have already also picked what you're going to be working on for your climate change paper. So I'm just going to come over here and review that with you again. The climate change paper, this is a big one, okay? This is your first big summative graded thing due September 30th, okay? It's a climate change paper. Length, at least 500 words. Writing style, a narrative. I want you to tell me a story. So the way that I want you to do this is you should have already chosen a region to evaluate for climate change. So if it was me, my great-grandparents came from Germany. One set of them did anyway. So I might pick Germany. Then I'm going to pick 2 indicators of climate change. Well, the northern region of Germany is on the ocean. And so I would like to pick that one, and then I'm also going to pick wildfires because a lot of Germany is covered in trees and has some really wonderful forests. So I've chosen my indicators. You should have gotten at least that far because, as you could see, it doesn't take me very long to do that. All right, describe the background information. I would now write a little bit about, I've selected Germany, and here's why, because my grandparents came from there. And I picked 2 indicators, and here's their relationship to climate change. So that's the background information, all right? Next, and you could be working on this maybe over the weekend to next week, is describe the historical status. So I want to go back and look at how has sea level changed around Germany, and how have wildfires and forests changed around Germany in the last 100 to 500 years. If you need to go back and find resource material, remember, I've bookmarked a spot on our homepage for the Sunset Library, okay? And then if you get to, we'll talk about it later, you could get to number 6, 7, and 8, but we'll talk about those later. At least by now, you should have chosen your region. All right. So let's chat a little bit about kinetic molecular theory. Kinetic molecular theory, you know those words. Kinetics, because kinetics is motion, like kinetic energy. Molecular, molecules and atoms. So kinetic molecular theory is the theory about the motion of atoms and molecules. So kinetic molecular theory, really simple. It just says atoms and molecules are always in motion. Okay, always in motion, never stop, always in motion. Okay, if you have little brothers or sisters, they're like a little 2-year-old. They're always in motion. All right, the second thing is that the more energy they have, the more motion they have. That kind of makes sense. So how do we get more energy into atoms and molecules? One way is heat. So if we add heat, they move faster. Okay? So let's see, what does that look like around your house? Start with an ice cube. As a solid, they're not moving very fast. Okay, then we add some heat, we let the ice cube sit on the counter, and it starts to melt. It's melting because we're moving from a solid to a liquid. It's changing its state of matter, solid to a liquid. And the molecules and atoms are moving faster. Why are they moving faster? Because they have more energy. Where'd they get the energy from? The heat in the room. okay? And if you take the water and you put it in a pan on the stove and turn the stove on, the water gets hotter and hotter until it eventually boils and turns into steam. The steam, those molecules are moving incredibly fast because they are a gas. What happens the other way? Just the opposite. It loses energy. The kinetic molecular theory says more energy, faster motion. Remember last year you worked on linear relationships. One thing goes up, the other goes up. Okay? That's what this is about. More energy, more motion. Okay? And as they have more motion, they change state. They go from a solid to a liquid to a gas. If they have less energy, then they go the opposite way. They go from a gas back to a liquid and finally back to a solid. That is the kinetic molecular theory of gases. All right? So you should have done the assignments on kinetic molecular theory. There's a rocket ship and Saturn and a moon. Everybody's required to do the moon, okay? And then the satellite. There's only 4 of them. So that's not a big, huge thing for you to work on. All right? Okay, so it's Friday. So I know you're going to want to take some breaks over the weekend. And so I'm only going to give you something pretty small to actually work on. Because if you were already working on kinetic molecular theory, then you've already begun to work on states of matter. Because as we just talked about, Unit 1.3, states of matter, is about solids, liquids, and gases. And so here's some things about solids, liquids, and gases. And so, again, there are clues for you to do. And then down here, there are 5 things for you to work on. Okay. Some of these are pretty easy. The water bottle, the ice cubes, and the temperature indicator on the oven are all pretty simple, fast, straightforward. Okay. The little lab, you'll enjoy that. That's a little simulation that helps you see the speed of the atoms and molecules as you add heat or take away heat. Okay, the last one up in the middle, that crazy looking chart about solids, liquids, and vapors. Take a look at that and see what you think. See what that looks like. You guys interpreted lots of graphs during your freshman year. This is temperature and pressure. And so next time we get together, we're going to talk about that phase change diagram. That's what that's called, a phase change diagram. So we'll talk more about that one. Don't forget that you should also be working on these states of matter assignments. There they are. But also on your climate change paper. Don't let that one go too long now. Remember, good time management and good responsibility. Remember, if you're also having troubles picking an area, sorting things out this first week, send me an email, come to a Zoom meeting, ask me a question in the chat window. Remember, as we go into week 2, keep your video on and be sure that you're there so that you can get marked present for our attendance. Have a good weekend.